So was there a conflict in interest between Christ when he was God and Christ when he was a man?
Well, so Christ didn't stop being God when he became a man.
Okay.
Christ took to himself a human nature and remained divinity.
Okay.
It didn't stop being divine.
Yeah.
But his human nature had limitations. One of those limits was a divine knowledge. But remember, your hadiths say that the glory of Allah is limited by his veil. Now let me ask you a question. Is the veil, according to your beliefs?
I don't know about the veil.
You don't know about the veil?
Yeah.
Is it created or uncreated?
I don't know about the veil. I can't tell you.
Well, I have just read it to you.
I told you I need an explanation.
Okay,
from my teacher.
you go away and read you go away and study your teachers.
Because we have explanations for every verse. Like I told you, you said the Salafis think God physically goes above.
That's what they say?
Yeah, we don't. We believe metaphorically.
Do you believe the Salafis are wrong?
In those parts, yeah.
Go on, bro. What was?
Yeah, just touching back on the convo you were having with the
Yeah.
gentleman over there. You were saying Islam tries to tell Christians what they actually believe in.
Yes.
And tries to correct their beliefs. So I was wanting to know what is wrong with that approach. Why do you think that's a bad approach?
Okay. So what I actually said was, and you might have just slightly missed it because it is a nuanced point, is it's not that Muslims tell Christians a correction to a false belief. It's that Muslims by necessity have to argue that Christians don't know what they themselves believe. Because I'm telling you as a Christian, and every Christian around you will tell you the same, I believe in one God. But the Quran says I believe in three gods. And so Muslims say that I don't understand what I mean when I say I believe in one God. So what I really mean is I believe in three gods, and they have to say that because that's what the Quran tells them.
And what's wrong with that approach?
Right, the reason why that is wrong, bro,
Yeah.
is because in this context, in this environment, right, I've got no reason to lie. I'm not under any kind of compulsion. I'm not under any judgment. You know, I've got no fear of consequence, right? And obviously, I'm coming here every Sunday because I believe what I believe, right? Now, why the first question that I would ask you just to think logically through, right? And just I want to have an honest dialogue with you. So I'm asking you to be honest in your answers and not just play the game of argument, right? If I believe that there is three gods, right, I really believe that.
Okay.
Don't you think that is what I would be here preaching?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so we're doing the Dawa game. Go on then.
No.
Go on.
I mean, if you have a child who has a father who was a serial killer, and they were always told from young, from their mother, oh, he was a good man, they would grow up believing he's a good man.
Right. So hold on one second.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. For your analogy to be true, you have to pinpoint the place at which someone told us we believed in one God when actually we believed in three gods. Where did that happen?
Okay, so what I'd ask is, if we look at the context just as it is, if we read the text as it is, we would argue, logically to a 10-year-old, they'd argue if there's three parts and different places at different times, this will equal as three different entities.
That's not what Christians believe or teach.
Okay, well, I mean, I've met Christians who, some will tell you, okay, there are three different parts and in three different places.
Yeah, if a Christian says that, they're speaking in error. Because that's not what Christianity teaches.
But they'll say you're speaking in error.
Well, and sadly, there would be some Christians that naive to do so. But the reality is that those are only a minority. Let's actually look at what Christian academics and teachers say, because they understand the faith best, and they're unanimous and universal in teaching that I believe in one God. But your argument for it to be true, and I'm demonstrating why it's false, is that you have to pinpoint somewhere in history where Christians believed in three gods, but then someone convinced them that they only believe in one God. Because remember, your analogy was the mother lying to the son about their father being a good man when really he was a serial killer. So the serial killer bit is analogous to the three gods bit, and the good man bit is analogous to believing in one God bit. So for your argument to stand true, show me where any Christian believed in three gods.
Okay, but if we take away any religious bias and we just look at a neutral person reading text, they will tell you there are three parts to this Christian God.
Right. So
a neutral person will tell you.
So your fictitious neutral person doesn't exist. There are countless examples of people who have done studies on what the church teaches and what Christians believe. and they publish academic books. I've got a degree in religious studies, right? Which means that I've studied what Christians and Muslims and other religious groups believe at a university level, right? So out of the two of us, I'm the one qualified to tell you, and I'm telling you, every academic book that you pick up, written by someone who is objective and neutral, will tell you Christians believe in one God. Fact.
They say they believe in one God.
Yes, correct.
They say, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
So here's the point. Here's the point. To repeat what I said before to the other Muslim, is that for your argument to stand valid, right? Because you're essentially saying that it's not that firstly, do you believe in one God?
I do, yeah.
Is there only one God?
Yes.
So when I say I believe in one God, am I making a truth claim that you agree with?
I mean, it depends how you define one God.
But define one God as being unique, singular, and like no other. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that in my context.
So we believe the same thing about God. Great. Now, incidentally, so does Satan. He believes in one God.
Okay.
Does Iblis believe in more than one God or only one God?
One God.
Right. So believing in one God ain't all that, is it? Because Satan's going to hell, isn't he?
Okay.
Right. So believing in one God ain't the impressive thing.
Okay.
Because Satan believes in one God. So believing in one God only makes you as good as Satan.
Yeah.
Are you as good as Satan?
No.
No. Right. I hope I am. I hope I'm better than Satan. Right. My point to you is, you're not saying to me that what I believe is wrong. What you're trying to argue, and what you can't argue, and what you're failing to argue, is that I don't actually understand what I believe when I tell you I believe in one God. But I just told you what I believe when I say I believe in one God, and you said you agreed with me.
Okay.
So now, do you believe in the Trinity?
No, I don't. Because now I'll tell you. This is how we shift the argument to the more advanced stages. Can you explain the Trinity to me and how the Trinity equals one God?
Okay, I will definitely do that.
Okay.
But I just want to advance the point one final time to you that you and every single Muslim that makes this argument are projecting a conceited lie onto Christians that you've made up about Christians. It's Christophobia. It's a Christophobic prejudice that you're projecting onto Christians based upon the lies you tell one another about Christians. Let me finish.
My opinion on Christianity.
Let me finish. Right? Because are you a Muslim yourself?
I am, yeah.
Right. So when a Muslim says a Christian doesn't know what they believe, how bold, arrogant, and ignorant that claim is. To tell a Christian when he says he believes in one God that he doesn't understand that and actually he believes in three God. That's bold, it's ignorant, and it's arrogant.
I don't necessarily go around to a Christian and tell them you don't know what you believe in.
You literally just said what's wrong with this idea.
What I do
You're trying to defend it right now.
No, what I do is I tell a Christian, explain the Trinity to me. They explain it to me and I say, that doesn't make sense.
Okay, so let me now explain the Trinity to you.
Please.
Right? This is what Christians believe about the Trinity. Firstly, the first thing that we believe is that you should worship only one God. Do you agree with that?
I do agree, you should worship one God, yeah.
Yes. The second thing that we believe about the Trinity is that God is one within himself, i.e. he has one sifat, one essence, and that essence is indivisible, and he's not shared with partners, and he's unique to him, and he's unique to himself, and no one else has a sifat and essence like him. Do you agree with that?
I do.
Right, great. So we agree.
Indivisible is the word you're using.
So, yeah, indivisible. That is exactly what I said. I said indivisible. You can quote me on it, and you can appeal to it later that I said that because it's going to work in my favor.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
The third thing that we believe about the Trinity, right? Because so far you're a Trinitarian, right?
I don't think I am.
So far you're a Trinitarian. The third thing that we believe about the Trinity is that there is only one God and there is no other gods.
There is only one God and there is no other God.
Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that.
Okay, so the first 3 points of the Trinity you totally agree with.
Okay.
Right? Now I'm going to blow your mind.
Okay, blow my mind, please.
We believe that the Father is that God I've just described. Do you agree that the Father of Jesus Christ is the God that I've just described?
I disagree with that.
You disagree?
I disagree with that.
Okay, so why do you believe that? So let me finish my explanation and then we'll go back over the points of disagreement. Okay, so now we've got the point of division.
Yeah.
Okay, so we believe that the God that I've just described is the Father. I also believe that the Son is the God that I've just described. and that the Holy Spirit is the God that I've just described. And the final point of the Trinity is that the Father is not the Son is not the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is not the Father. Now I've explained what I believe. Feel free to ask your questions.
Okay, so you said the Father is
You
not the
can,
Son.
if he allows you to, you can jump into this conversation.
Okay, no worries.
If he allows you.
I'll let you talk.
I'll just finish my... So the Father is not the Son.
Yes, and the Son is not the Holy Spirit. Yes.
They're separate entities.
Right, so let's come to that. Okay. Right, what do we mean when we say the Father is not the Son and the Son is not the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit is not the Father? What we mean by that is that each person of the Divine Trinity has attributes that are unique to himself. So the Father is unbegotten, the Son is begotten, and the Spirit spirates. Okay. The Father doesn't spirate, he's not begotten. The Son is begotten, but he doesn't spirate. And the Spirit is spirates, but he's not begotten. But only the Father is unbegotten. So wait, let me just pad this out for you. Okay. Because you accept this idea that one can be three and three can be one every single day of your life, and you never question it. You've never even thought to question it.
Say that again?
You accept this idea that one can be three and three can be one every single day, and you never question it. And I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to give you multiple examples. Okay. Multiple examples. Firstly, though, let's understand the logic of maths, because that's really important.
Yes, I love that.
Great. If you count something in one way, and it's one, but then you count it in another way, and it's three, because you haven't counted it in the same way, there is no logical contradiction in saying that it's one in one way and three in another way. Example, dimensional space. Okay. Right now, you're stood in three-dimensional space. Okay. X-axis, Y-axis, Z-axis. Okay. Each axis is distinct from the other two axes, but each axis has the property of being an axis in three-dimensional space. Okay. So in one way, they're all the same thing, but in another way, they're different things. And you experience that every day, and you never think to question it.
That's a rule of measurement. We're talking about being in a different place at a different time.
Yeah, right, so go on. So come to your argument.
So if you're telling me the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Father are all part of one God.
No, I didn't say part. I was very clear not to say part.
They're all one thing.
I said the Father is God, the Son is God, and the Holy Spirit is God.
So all three of them are God?
Correct.
Okay, so when the Father...
basically 3 in 1. Just 3 in 1?
Yes. Yeah, the three-dimensional space. It's an example of 3 in 1. You experience three-dimensional space. And by the way, it isn't just a measurement, it's a reality. You're literally a three-dimensional creature in three-dimensional space, moving through three-dimensional space and time. And the reality is, you never say, you don't try to dodge the dimensions, you don't try and step over the dimensions. You experience them as one, they're one reality, but the X, the Y, and the Z axes are all distinguishable.
Okay, so if we go back to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Being God.
So when the Son was on earth,
yes.
Where was the Father?
Great. The Father was in heaven.
Okay, so they're both God, the Son and the Father.
Yes.
So there was God on earth and God in the heavens.
Right, so God was on earth, God was in heaven. Not that there was a God on earth, not that there was a God in heaven. You see, this is the thing, you're repeating the error of the Quran, you're inserting the a where no a belongs.
No, the is coming from logic.
It's not logic. It's bad logic. It's bad logic.
Very good logic.
It's bad logic. But I mean, the problem for you is, your own hadiths talk about Allah descending to the lowest heaven. Now, but the same hadiths tell you that Allah is above His throne. Now, one second. So if Allah is below His throne, how can He also be above His throne?
So I'm free.
Do you reject hadiths?
No. So my school of thought.
Are you a Sunni or Shia?
I'm Sunni, but we're Ash'ari.
Ash'ari.
Our school of thought is this metaphoric meaning.
Right. Okay. So you don't buy into the Salafi stuff.
We're not literals. No.
Okay. So when you say that Allah descends to the lowest heaven,
we don't mean this literally, because we don't put Allah with movement, with space.
Okay, that's fine. So I will be fair now, and I want you to be fair. So I'm going to engage in how you describe Islam.
Okay.
What I'm asking you to do is to engage with how I describe Christianity, and not to reword how I describe Christianity to suit you.
No problem.
So when I said the Father is God on earth, so the Father is God in heaven and the Son is God on earth, I didn't say God.
Okay.
So you shouldn't either.
Okay. I'll take away the from the
Thank you.
sentence. Okay. So when the Son was on earth,
Yes.
he was God.
Yes.
And when the Father was in the heavens, he was God.
Yes.
So the God was in two places
Yes.
at one time.
Correct.
So when the Son was praying to God, who was he praying to?
Right, great question.
Yeah.
So, firstly, there's no problem with the idea that God can be in two places at the same time. The divinity of the Son is the same as the divinity of the Father. It was the Son that was incarnate on earth, and it was the Father in heaven. This does not imply some kind of division. So if you've got that image in your mind, get rid of it, because that's not what I believe, it's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right, and you're engaging with what I say.
Okay.
So it is the same God, the same divinity that is on earth and in heaven. And that's not a problem. God can do that. God's not limited. We can't do that, but God can. Now, in fact, I even forgot what I was going to go on to say from after that. So I'll let you
Okay.
continue.
So, all right. So when the Son.
Oh wait, sorry. You asked who the Son was praying
Yes,
to.
yes.
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes,
Yeah.
go for it.
Right. So who was the Son praying to? The answer is simple. The Son was praying to the Father.
Could he have been praying to himself?
No, he was praying to the Father.
But he is part of the.
He's not part.
He is.
I never said part.
He is God.
He is God, yes.
He is God. So why would he not pray to
right,
himself?
so now let's go a bit deeper.
Okay.
Right, and I want to thank you for having.
For assistance.
Let's dig a little deeper, because when I say that the Father and the Son are the same divinity,
Yeah.
I'm going to use a picture metaphor, because picture metaphors, people think visually, so we understand visuals better.
Yeah.
All right. So follow me on this metaphor.
Okay.
Okay. Imagine in your mind a giant mountain, and inside the mountain is an infinite reservoir of water.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
And that infinite reservoir of water breaks out on the east side and breaks out on the west side of the mountain, and then doth flow two rivers.
Okay.
Would it be fair for me to say that there, in one sense, there's three things here: River A, the source of River A, and River B,
Okay.
which also has the same source as River A.
Okay.
Would you agree that that's fair to my analogy?
Okay. Yeah. I would,
Right.
Yeah.
Would you also say it's fair for me to say that River A, the source, and River B are all the same thing in the sense of they are the same substance? They're all H2O. Is that fair
Yes,
to my
yes,
analogy?
yes.
Right. So when we say that Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are not the same, it's analogous to this idea of the river and the two rivers and the source. Each river is distinguishable, like each of the persons is distinguishable, but the thing that they are is one and the same.
But you've just labelled them as two rivers, so you're saying there's more than one river.
And if you remember at the earlier point of our conversation, I said if you count something in one way and then you count the same thing in another way, there's no logical contradiction. If we ask the question, to my analogy, what is the substance of the two rivers and the source? The answer is one, H2O.
Yeah. Okay.
But if we say, well, how many objects do we have here? The answer is three, two rivers and a source.
Okay.
So now coming back to the Trinity, when we say how many divinities there are, how many gods there are, we say one because they all have the same substance.
Okay.
But then we say there are three because they are Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Okay, so if we were to use your analogy that the two rivers and the source are the same thing, would they all have the same components?
What do you mean by components?
Like, would they all be made of the same thing, have the same limitations, have the same abilities? All, these three sources, because they're from the same source,
yes,
would they all be equal?
Yes, they would all be equal in their divinity.
Okay, so when the Son was on earth,
yes,
did he have the same knowledge as the Father?
Yes.
Did he have the same knowledge as the Holy Spirit?
Yes.
So when he was praying to the Father and asking the Father why he was forsaking him,
yep,
what did he mean by that? If he had the same knowledge?
So the verse that you're quoting is when he was asked about the day of judgment, and Christ said, "No one knoweth the day or the hour, nor the Son, nor the angels. Sorry, nor the angels, nor the Son. Only the Father knoweth." Right. So that's the passage you're quoting. No, that really is the passage you're quoting.
No, is it?
Yes, it really is. I know this script very well. So now let me reply to that script, okay? Because this series of questions, every Muslim asks them. I hear them every week.
Okay.
So the first problem that you've got there is that in Islam, right? You have the same concept of limitation of attributes. The shank, the veil of Allah, the veil of light that surrounds Allah, according to your hadiths, limits the glory of Allah, because if it was removed, that glory would burn up the whole of creation as far as Allah could see, which is another way, a metaphorical way of saying everything would be burnt up by the glory of Allah. But that glory of Allah is limited by the veil of Allah, that veil of light, right? Okay. So you have a concept in your religion of Allah limiting his attributes. Now what we are saying about the incarnation is that the humanity of Christ limits the glory of Christ. It limits the full possession of the divinity from being displayed. And this is true of his knowledge. So when I said, does the Son have the same knowledge of the Father? I meant it. The Son really did have the same knowledge as the Father. But in his humanity, did he have access to all of that knowledge? Did his humanity have access to the infinite reservoir of knowledge that God has? And the answer to that is no.
In theory, he should be.
No, because of the incarnation. Because when Christ takes on a humanity, he takes on limitations. Limitations in time, limitations in space, and limitations in ability. Remember, you have the same concept of limitations in your hadiths.
I can't give you an answer because I don't know about the limitations. But as far as I'm aware, from my teachings, God has no limitations.
Let me give you another example, another picture metaphor, because these help. Right? Imagine you're in the great vacuum of space. It doesn't matter how. Maybe you're Superman. Maybe you're in a spaceship. However works best for you. And you're looking at the giant plasma ball that is the sun. And you see the sun in all of its glory and all of its fire and fury, all of its majesty. And then someone draws a curtain and suddenly you can't see the sun at all. But then someone else comes along and they just cut a little slit in the curtain and suddenly the light of the sun starts to stream in. Is it fair to say that what you're seeing through that slit is the light of the sun?
Yes.
Is it also fair to say that you're not seeing the sun in all of his glory?
Yes.
And that is exactly what we're saying about the incarnation. When you see Christ, you're seeing the sun in the limited glory. The knowledge was present with him on earth, in his person, in his body.
But that's what I have a problem with.
Right, but you don't...
Limiting... Okay, you said the Father and the Son are both God.
Yes.
So how can one God limit the other God?
Right. So firstly, we're not saying that one God limited the other God, because what you've just tried to suggest there is that there are two gods. No, and that's not what we believe.
You told me there was a God on earth.
Yes.
And there's God in...
Which is the same God, and I want to make sure that you're crystal clear about that in your mind.
I understand what you mean.
So let's say the person in heaven, the Father, the person of the Father limiting the person of the Son. So let's get our language correct.
The body of the Trinity in heaven.
So let's be clear. Who limits the Son in his incarnation on earth? Father, Son, and Holy Spirit limit the Son in his incarnation on earth. It isn't that one acts over the other. It is that the three act together as one. All of their actions are one. So when Christ takes on a limiting humanity, that is not the Father imposing an act on the Son. It is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit limiting the humanity of the Son.
Limiting of God does not befit the characteristics of God.
So why, according to your hadiths, is the glory of Allah limited by the shank of Allah?
I told you I'm not familiar with that verse.
Right.
I can't comment.
It's in your hadiths.
I can't comment on that.
It's in your hadiths. Well, no, just think with me, right? I'm telling you that this hadith is there. Yeah. I can show you the hadith with the references if you need me to. Yeah. Just deal with that. You're saying that it is unbecoming for God to have a limit placed upon him. Yeah. So why does Islamic sources put a limit on Allah?
I don't know if they do. I'm not familiar.
I'm right. Unless you're willing to accuse me of being lying, do the thought experiment with me. Imagine that there is this source that says that the glory of Allah is veiled.
I don't do hypothetical.
Right, I'm going to get out the hadith then and show you. Fine.
You should be stoned by now. It's a Palestinian.
Right, bro. My point to you is, bro. I can't take. I can't take this argument from a Muslim because the one you're trying to argue that it doesn't befit.
I asked you to explain it.
Yeah, and but you then said it doesn't befit the glory of God to have himself limited.
No, logically, the all-creating, the all-knowing, cannot put a limit on himself.
Right, so I'm going to show to you your own sources say that he does.
like I told you, I'm not familiar with the verse. There's different explanations for it.
I'm going to show you that your own sources say that he does. 24:35. Okay? In Surah 20, right? So in Surah 24:35, it talks about the light of Allah. Okay. You know about that, right? Okay. Of course you do. But there are hadiths that are attached to that surah, like there are hadiths attached to every surah of the Quran. So in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 195, book of Sunnah, and it's given a grade Sahih, says this: his veil is light, and if he were to remove it, the glory of his face would burn everything of his creation as far as his gaze reaches. Okay. So that's telling you that the glory of Allah's face is limited by the veil of Allah that is light.
Is that metaphorically? Is that literally?
Well, you tell me.
Oh, I told you I don't know about this verse. You can't ask me.
Right. So
I will only comment if I'm aware of it.
So I would say to you, I would
go back and ask my.
Yeah, you come back to me when you have. Yeah. But my point to you is, I can't take this argument from you when your own sources are saying that the glory of Allah is limited. I can't take that argument.
We weren't debating my beliefs. We were debating whether God can put
but you said it was unbecoming.
No, but take me as someone who's coming to you neutrally with no religious ties.
You're not neutral, and you're not neutral. You're coming as a Muslim, and that's fine.
I've come to you. I'm from a logic standpoint.
No, you've come from a Muslim logic, and it's often illogical.
I haven't.
Right. Okay, but let's continue, because I want to show to you something again, that you have no problem with this idea of limits of knowledge, okay? Because as Christians, we say that Christ became fully human. He became like us in every way, right? As a human being, you will have knowledge that is in your possession that you don't have access to, okay? Okay. There are two examples that I can give to demonstrate this. Okay. First one, when you come into your house, you put down your car keys, you forget where you've put your car keys, and then your wife asks you, where did you put the car keys? And you go, I don't know. Yeah. And then an hour later you remember and you go, hey, I remembered where the car keys are. That knowledge was always with you, but when you said, I don't know, you weren't lying. Because you didn't have access to the knowledge.
A human weakness.
Exactly, and Christ took on human weaknesses. Okay. That's what we believe.
So God weakened himself to the level of a human?
No, God took to himself a humanity that was weak. We do not say, let me give you another analogy to help you, right? Another picture metaphor. If I take a coin, and the coin is made of gold, and I've got one face of the coin and two faces of the coin, imagine that one face of the coin represents Christ's human nature, and the other one represents Christ's divine nature, and the gold represents his person, the I am, the I that is there, right? Okay. And I get that gold coin and I scratch one face of the coin. You would agree with me that I've scratched one face of the coin and the gold, agreed? Yeah. Right. But if I flip that coin around, the other face is totally untouched, agreed? Yeah. Right. In the same way, we believe as Christians that what happens to Christ's human nature does not affect his divine nature in any way. Okay. But the person of Christ experiences both the divine nature and the human nature. So all of the divine knowledge was there with Christ, but he didn't have access to it.
So was there a conflict in interest between Christ when he was God and Christ when he was a man?
Well, so Christ didn't stop being God when he became a man. Okay. Christ took to himself a human nature and remained divinity. Okay. He didn't stop being divine. Yeah. But his human nature had limitations. One of those limits was divine knowledge. But remember, your hadiths say that the glory of Allah is limited by his veil. Now let me ask you a question. Is the veil, according to your beliefs?
I don't know about the veil.
You don't know about the veil? Yeah. Is it created or uncreated?
I don't know about the veil, I can't tell you.
Well, I have just read it to you.
I told you I need an explanation.
Okay,
from my teacher.
you go away and read you go away and study your teachers.
Because we have explanations for every verse. Like I told you, you said the Salafis think God physically goes above.
That's what they say?
Yeah, we don't. We believe metaphorically.
Do you believe the Salafis are wrong?
In those parts, yeah.
Now let me ask you this question. Doesn't the Quran say it's clear guidance to all things? Yeah. So if it's clear guidance, why can't you guys agree?
Clear guidance for people who are genuine believers.
The saved sect.
Genuine believers, yeah.
Are Salafis genuine believers?
I need to understand. Obviously, there's different Salafis come in different forms and shapes.
Just generally, are Salafis Muslims?
I don't want to comment.
Would you give them the salam?
Yeah.
Right, so that means you see him as a believer.
I need to look.
No, if you, bro, I know your fiqh better than you do. If you give your salam to another person, you're forbidden. It's haram to give salam to someone who's kafir. So if kufr, sorry. So if you're saying that you'd give the salam to a Salafi, you're saying that the Salafi is a believer.
I'm not the most pious Muslim, so
it doesn't matter.
I'll give salam to,
right, generally.
Yeah, generally.
Would you give it to me?
Yeah, I know.
Fair enough. Pete, you know, it's good. Yeah. Okay. Wassalamu alaikum. Now, let me just get this point across to you. What Muslims have heard about Christian beliefs is not what Christians believe. You owe it to yourself. What's your name, bro? Isa. Beautiful name. Right? Like, you owe it to yourself as an honest person to study Christianity with knowledgeable Christians and to come to an understanding of what Christians really believe and not just believe what Muslims say we believe or the lie that Muslims say we don't understand our beliefs.
I can assure you right now, everything I know about Christianity is not from Islam.
Okay.
It's from my Christian friends.
I assure you right now that hasn't worked out to be true in this conversation.
I can assure you it is. I can assure you it is.
I would like. Can I meet these Christian friends of yours? Yeah. Can we meet them? And I'd like to ask them whether they've taught you that God is in parts.
I've seen conflict between them.
Great.
On whether Jesus is this, or whether God is this, or whether God is in three, or God's in one. Or the answer is usually it's very complex to explain. It's very complex to explain. Yeah,
because not a lot of the Christians understand it. You've got to understand, bro, that Christians today, a lot of them are very ignorant of their faith. Right? So you owe it to yourself to sit down with knowledgeable Christians. I've been able to answer every 100%. One of your questions.
100%. No,
so come and study with me.
You've answered them. No, I don't necessarily agree with them.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and I would like to hear your answers to my questions.
Yeah. Okay. No.
So come back to me when you know what the shank is.
So you want to know about the veil?
I want to know how the veil. I want to know how the veil limits the glory of Allah.
Okay.
Right. And because you've been such a wonderful human being, such a pleasant person to speak to, I'd like to give you a gift.
Okay.
So this is for you.
Yep.
It's a Bible.
Thank you.
Right, study it, come back with your tough questions, bro. Yeah. Let's get a coffee at the Marriott.
Okay.
Let's sit my treat, I'll buy you, and we'll sit down and I'll happily go through all of your questions.
Okay.
Lovely to speak to you, Isa. You take care. Okay, guys. So what we've just seen is, again, the Dawa script from beginning to end. All the same questions, given in all the same ways, to a man, all the same questions. Christians, you've got to recognize, Muslims have imbibed a polemical script about our faith. But that polemical script is tripping too many of you up. And it's tripping too many of you up because you have not studied the faith. Your fellowships need to be teaching apologetics. Your fellowships need to be cultivating firmness and steadfastness and strength in belief in our faith as Christians. Because it's only when we do that that we'll be able to take on the Dawa script. As you've just seen, it can be beaten, it is beaten. And Muslims often attack us upon lines that if you just study it and flip it round on them, their own beliefs stumble and fall. They have all the same problems that they're throwing at us in their religion, but whereas we've thought these issues through, they've never thought it through. The only problem is they've never been challenged on it before. And they've never been challenged on it before is because for nearly 1400 years, they dominated the societies. And so no one dared to challenge them. But now Islam, for the first time in its history, is being intellectually challenged by Christians, and it's being found wanting. For 5 years, I've been coming to this park, and for 3 of those years, the Muslim da'i in this park would debate me. But we Christians, Jay Smith, Hatun, myself, Paperboy, Ben, when he was here before he went and sulked, and other Christians, we've beat the da'i in all of their arguments. So much so that now they run from us. Mansour won't debate us, Hashim won't debate us, Ali Dawa won't debate us, Muhammad Hijab won't debate us. They all run away. Why? Because they know when they face a Christian of knowledge, it damages their dawah and it casts doubt into the heart of Muslims. And that's why they're avoiding us. We have defeated the Dawa gangs in this park. And that's all we've done. We haven't stopped the Dawa, we haven't defeated Islam, we've just defeated it intellectually. And you've seen that on record in 5 years.